Fala, povo! Tudo bem com vocês? Na entrevista de hoje eu conversei com Youssef Mosalem, um engenheiro egípcio que escolheu o Canadá para viver. Na entrevista ele não só deu dicas práticas de como reconhecer o diploma de engenheiro no Canadá, como também deu uma notícia muito interessante para quem é da área. Para você saber qual é a notícia, qual é o conselho, você vai ter que assistir a entrevista. Mais uma vez eu quero agradecer a Youssef por ter tirado tempo para conversar conosco. A entrevista foi em inglês, então ela terá legenda. Antes da gente assistir a entrevista, corre lá, dê o seu like, inscreva-se no nosso canal no YouTube, compartilhe, deixe seus comentários e sugira outros assuntos, outras nacionalidades que você gostaria de ver entrevistadas aqui. Tá joia? Vamos à entrevista. Alan Watohan Youssef, which means welcome Youssef. Youssef, you are my friend, but most people here want to know who is Youssef. Could you please tell us a little bit about you? Where are you from, and when did you come to Canada, and so on?
Sure, yeah. First of all, thank you so much for having me today. And it's been a while we didn't talk, and it's really good to catch up. My name is Youssef Mozahem. I read that now in my language, like in Arabic, so it's Youssef Mozahem. I was born in Cairo, in Egypt, for a Syrian father and a Jordanian mother. So I have like mix of nationalities, but we all speak same language, so it's Arabic language. And I've been here in Canada since 2015.
Okay. And why did you come to Canada?
So good question. I worked in many countries before coming to Canada, to be honest. And one of the reasons that made me come here is one of it is trying a new life and a new experience, and looking actually for a better standard of life. I've worked in many countries in the world before, and what I found in Canada, that you really feel that you're home since the day you come here. And this is a feeling I didn't have in any of the other countries I lived in before. It's not because of any local things, but it's just you go there for work, you do your work, finish your contract, then you leave. So it's not like you don't establish any roots in the country. So I was looking forward to find a place where you can call home.
Okay, so you said you felt at home since day one. Does that mean that you came as a permanent resident already, or you had to apply for visa later?
No, I came through the Provincial Nominee Program of Manitoba, and yes, I arrived here as a permanent resident since day one.
Okay, I have a question that usually is expected to do at the end of the interview, but I don't like to wait until there. For those watching the video, they will know right away. Are you happy in Canada?
Yes, I am. Definitely I am. Yeah, there's no question about that. Yeah.
Good.
That's the bottom line, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. How was your integration to Canada's life? You come from Egypt. I come from Brazil, and Brazil is a tropical country. And on my mind, Egypt is very hot. The weather is very warm there.
Yeah.
Was the cold winter the most challenging thing to overcome, or did you have any other thing to overcome that was more concerning than the winter?
Yeah, so one comment I have to do here is I wasn't living in Egypt when I came to Canada. I was living in Qatar, which is even have the most hot weather maybe in the world. So it was even warmer, right? The trick that I did is I arrived to Canada in May. So it was beginning of the summer. And this is what I advise most people. If you don't have like a strict deadline or, timeline that you have to make, just come here in the summer, like beginning of the summer. You will have 2 or 3 months at least. So you get to know the country, you get to know the city, you get to know, where to go, what to see. You can see people around. I mean, maybe we're not talking about COVID era right now, but I mean, in general, this will give you an opportunity to see around, right? To get yourself oriented until winter hits, maybe end of September. So you will have like those 4 months of, orientation. And so once the winter hits, it hits gradually. So it was getting colder and colder. And yes, I have to be honest, I've never witnessed minus 30 in my life. And that was really something. And just to add to it, most of my projects now are in northern Manitoba, which are even colder than Winnipeg anyway. It's like you have to just, as everybody says here, dress for it and just be cautious, right? But don't give up to it. That's the thing. And I always tell people, when it is minus 30, minus 40, just go out. Not go out like go walk maybe, but at least even if you go drive your car around, right? But don't just give in to the idea that, oh, it's cold, I'm not leaving, because it's a long winter and you end up doing nothing. I mean, if you just say it's cold, I'm not going out.
You said the year you came to Canada, how many years has been?
And now 6 years.
6 years. Okay. Yeah. What has been the most difficult thing for you in those 6 years?
Now, to start with is, I would say that is the most, or let's say the biggest challenge for any newcomer here is really, finding a job or a career in your profession, in your own, education, right? This is really a big challenge. Because at the end of the day, finding a house or, getting a bank account or buying a car, this is all those are easy things, right? You can manage in a way or another. You can always find help, and these are like kind of logistics that you need, but they're not like, hard cuts, because everything is clear. You can find services easily. You can apply for them, and like your health card, your if you have like kids in school, and all that is it has a process, but it's not like a black box. It's not like something like a mystery. Now, when it's coming to jobs, that's really the biggest challenge. And I have to tell everyone here now that it took me at least 6 months until I landed on a job that's the closest to my career before coming to Canada. So I would say that is the biggest challenge.
Okay, so I have interviewed other people, and they were lucky enough to land a job in their field right away. So you would say that for most people that's not the case, and we have to start somewhere with the first job and then go climbing the stairs.
Yeah.
Okay, and what are you doing now? Are you back to engineering?
Yeah, well, it's been a while now. I mean, now I am working as a contracts administrator for WSP Canada. So it's a project management position. And WSP Canada is one of the largest engineering and project management consulting firms in the world now, right? So yes, I'm doing that. But maybe going back to your comment on yes, I would say there are some people who could get a job right away once they're here. I mean, there are some circumstances. Sometimes it's luck, is some conditions of the employment. I mean, I'm not sure about those cases, but there is really a study. I mean, there are many studies, to be honest, on the newcomer's experience when it's coming to landing a job in their field. And you can tell there was 45% of engineers. Now let's talk about engineers. 45% of engineers who came to Canada had to switch jobs, completely, doing something completely different. And that's a big number. If you consider 45%, you're almost half of them, right? And the other 55%, there is a big percentage of them, it took them some time until they get the job they're looking for. So this is a challenge because it's and this is not like something like Mission Impossible. I'm not saying that, and this is not kind of disappointment but really North America is a different place. That's what I can say. They have different ways in doing things. They have different work traditions. They have different work ethics, and it's all different. So this is something people should understand, in order to set their expectations. Because again, during the immigration process, if any of your viewers have been in the, let's say, provincial nominee program or express entry, like you can see from the requirements that there is like high demand for skills and for professions but then when people come here, they expect that, it's like, I'm a doctor, I would work right away. I am a project manager, I will be, managing a team of 100 people right away. But that's not the case. Simply not because it's impossible but because it's different. It's something different. And I always tell people, when you go to any other country in the world, now let's not say Canada. Let's say I have a work in South Africa or in Brazil maybe, or if I don't, even if I speak some good Portuguese, I can be managing people in Brazil. That's not even realistic, right? So sometimes I tell people, you have to be realistic when you come here. This is a new country with new ways of life, ways of work. So you have to absorb things first before you start working and looking for the job you're looking for.
Yes. Just to mention to my viewers, I made a video about the Canadian experience, which is something required for you to get your first job. I'll put a link on the video here and you can watch it later. How was the process of recognition of your diploma abroad Canada? How was that?
Yeah, so my experience is a little bit different because now they changed the process in a little bit, and now there is something called WES, which is World Education Services in Toronto, and this organization is responsible of doing the education recognition for people who want to immigrate to Canada from all over the world. There is a process to do that, and it's a requirement now for immigration process, right? So you have to do that. This is an easy process. You have to send your documents, and I mean, for most countries, they ask that the documents be sent from your university in a sealed envelope directly to them, and they do the evaluation, and then they send you a letter of what does your qualification is equivalent to in Canada. So let's say, for example, in my case, I have a bachelor's degree in civil engineering, and they said that, yes, your education is equivalent to a bachelor's degree in civil engineering in Canada, right? So it was the same thing. So this is the first part. So you do that for immigration. Now, once you land here, it depends on your province of landing. The process, takes different paths, let's say. And every province has its own processes. So speaking of Manitoba, when you arrive here, you have to set an appointment with Engineers Geoscientists Manitoba. This is the association for engineers in Manitoba. You have to send in your papers, like your university papers. And so this WES evaluation is not valid anymore in Manitoba. So you have to do this with the association. They have to go through your curricula and what you have taken in the university. Then they send you an assessment of this education. And the assessment comes in a letter that contains 4 or 5 options. It depends on your situation, right? So some of the options would be to go back to the university to do such and such and such subjects that they are required, or to do some exams in the university only, or sometimes one of the options could be doing the FE exam, which is fundamentals of engineering exam. This is an American exam, but they adopted it in Manitoba in 2015, and I personally took it. It's like an overview of all the engineering that you have taken. And it's one exam. Once you pass, then the association can recognize your qualification. So once you do that, any of these options, and you know, some people would go back to the university, like do the entire study from scratch. That's again an option if some people have some funds, right? There is in Manitoba, there is the IEEQ program, which stands for Internationally Educated Engineers Qualification Program. And this program is really in high demand now because it is 1 year, it's one full-time year of study. Once you finish it, you become an engineer in training in Manitoba, regardless of your previous education, but they have to consider your qualifications anyway. It's not like anyone can go there, right? And it's in high competition now. And some people would take it if you have like a year, because this program can provide you with the co-op, which is a job opportunity during the program where you can go for 3 months to do, training in one of the government agencies or a company. And so that would, provide you with more opportunities to work in the future. Once you're engineer in training, then you have to get at least 1 year of Canadian experience. They have to recognize your international experience, whatever that is. You need to get at least 3 years of international experience. So most people, when they come here with 15 years or 12 years, they will have no issues generally to get the 3 years. It's only the 1 year of Canadian experience that, has some tricks. Once you get that, then you become a professional engineer. So you have the designation with your name, which is P-Eng, right? So that's the professional engineer. Now, if you allow me, one note I should maybe tell our viewers here. Engineering in Canada is engineering. So it's purely technical, it's analysis, it's calculation. In many other parts of the world, engineers are involved in construction and they lead construction projects maybe. And here in Canada, this is not the case. So if you're coming, so someone like me, I'm coming with 20 years of construction experience overseas. So this is not engineering. So yes, that was required in those projects that the construction manager should be an engineer or the project manager should be an engineer. This is not the case in Canada. So if you are coming with a construction experience and you don't really worried about all this process, you don't have to do this association, engineers association thing and go through it, because at the end of the day, you have to work as a technical engineer, and maybe this is something you have never done in your life. And that's my case, by the way. I've never done any calculations or analysis. I was always involved in project management and construction management. So that's why I took the short road. And yes, I am registered in the association and I'm taking the process, but I don't have that as, a holding point for me to work. That's the thing. I was looking for project management positions, and that's what I got for the last 5 years, right? And because project management is not a regulated profession in Canada, so you can work anywhere for any employer, right? And there's no association for it, and it's just you have your skills and especially if you have your PMP designation, and here you go. This is the key, right?
Okay, so this is huge. This is something it's totally new for me and for most of our people watching the video. If you are a guy from the field, a guy that used to go and work with in the floor, you can be relieved of going through the engineering recognition and apply for project management positions, and that will be okay. Is that what you said?
Absolutely.
I get it right?
Yes, absolutely. You know what? Because this will save you the burden of thinking that you have to be registered engineer to start working. And let's be honest here, I'll talk about myself. With 20 years of construction experience and project management experience, I am be honest, I can't do now any calculation or any, engineering analysis for anything. So I don't have this capacity, right? So yet I can register in the association, I can still have my experience, I can still have the designation, but I didn't want that to stop me from looking for work. So when you look for work, for example, don't look for positions that have engineer in the title, because engineer does only engineering. So you have to go through, the technicality and analysis and stuff. If you did not do that in the past, so don't have to worry about it here. That's what I'm saying. You can register in the association, take the designation. That's something, but leave it with time. That's time to it. And many people who took this advice, to be honest, felt that relief, because now you don't have this burden in your shoulders, right? That you have to finish something to work. So it's not the case. So yes, I advise people, for example, if you don't have the PMP, which is Project Management Professional Certification, and you came here and you start looking for work, why not doing a course, to get your PMP in that time? If you're not working, use this time to get a designation. PMP is a global designation that is not regulated in anywhere, right? And it gives you the opportunity to work in many project coordination, contract coordination, project management. All these titles are very open and they are very required in many places in Canada.
Yes, that is something. I hold the PMP designation as well. And here in Canada, I have worked mostly in construction projects.
Exactly. Yeah.
I worked for WSP as well, but in the other end of the contract. I was the contractor, and they were the contracting firm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and I'm not an engineer. Actually, I had a computer science degree, but because of my experience back in Brazil and my PMP designation, I was able to apply for these jobs, and I was hired. And doing project coordination, it's fine. You don't need to be an engineer for doing that.
Absolutely.
Okay, I just want to clarify. Being an engineer means that I will be in the office doing purely calculations. Is that right?
That's right. Plus, sometimes you may go to site to do some inspections, which are required. Depending on the type of the project. But this is your job, right? You make sure that the quality of the work is done. According to your drawings and your analysis, but not more than that. Right? Engineers do not go to do not manage projects, especially construction projects, right? Or if you find that situation somewhere, maybe there are some, but it's not a requirement. That's what I'm just trying to say.
Okay. Just a note for the viewers, I also have a video where Juliana from IT Field, she said that most important than getting other courses, other trainings would be to go for international recognized certifications. In the IT field, there are their certifications on programming, on networking, on database. And in construction, we have different kinds of certifications from the PMI, the Project Management Institute. So would be a better investment to do those certifications than to go for the engineering recognition, right?
Absolutely. And there's something something more I would like to add. I would advise everyone, focus on your skills rather than your, qualifications and certifications. And so, for example, if you have 20%, let's say, knowledge of Microsoft Excel, let's say, or Microsoft project, make that 70%, make it 80%. Use this time when you're here or when you're abroad and waiting for immigration, develop your skills, because skills is what makes you more, open for more opportunities. Then you'll be more required. Because when you say I'm a general manager of a company, what does that mean? It's like, and one of the immigration consultants here, I was interviewing her sometime, and she said, we don't need general managers in Canada. This is not something we need, right? You need people who knows things. And for example, I know some people in my company or my previous job, they are engineers and they developed some AutoCAD skills, and now they're working as in the drafting thing. And drafting it has very high demand, and it pays well. And if you don't really care, like, I mean, it's like you're doing something technical that people need, right? So focus on the skills, whatever skills you have, whether, as you said, like for IT professionals, they have many other things they can work on. Once you have skills, this is power. It's more than a piece of paper that says you are general manager or you are an engineer or you are anything, right?
Okay, and I have a question. My other interviews, everybody would some way say the same thing about the mastering English. How is in the engineering field or in the construction field the importance of mastering English? Can you tell us?
Sure, yeah. Well, I mean, English outside Canada is different than English inside Canada. I think you may agree. So it's so English outside Canada is we learn the English language is like how Shakespeare wrote it. Like, yes, we read, we know what apple means, what what orange means, and that's good. Now, when it's coming to living in a place, right? You have some local things, sometimes local expressions, local ways of saying things, and this is even different from province to province in Canada. And like, for example, if you go to Newfoundland and Labrador, and if you go into any local bar or coffee shop, you might look around and think, am I still in Canada or what's going on here? Because they have, heavy Irish accent, which is really different from, let's say, other provinces, right? In New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, it's the same. They have some local accents. So again, the accents and the way of expressing things and sometimes local words is something different from English. So let's start with the professional English. Yes, you have to master it, and it's a requirement for immigration, and it's very important. But what I advise people to do, when you arrive here, try to engage with, local people as much as possible, whether on professional or social level or any level you feel comfortable. There are, hundreds and hundreds of social groups in every province in Canada where you can find some, interest, plus you can, practice the local language. So for example, if you like photography, so you can look on the internet, like there is meetup groups or, some other groups. You can go there and you can find some local photography group. Once you join them, so it's not only about photography. So now you're doing something you like, plus now you're communicating with people in their own language and their own accent. Then you start, listening and, start understanding. Oh, they say, why would they say pull over to stop the car, right? Like there are some expressions that we don't know or we didn't know before coming here. So that's important. And this will help you later in the job market. Because now when you're sitting in a meeting and they're talking about a hockey game that happened yesterday and the Jets, Winnipeg Jets won or lost or whatever, so you're not like off, right? You don't have to love hockey, I'm not saying that, but at least you're in the loop. Like you know what's going on. If when the Blue Bombers in Winnipeg took the CFL Cup 2 years ago, like everybody in Winnipeg was happy because this is the local club. Maybe I don't like the American football, but it's a sport, it's a public sport here, and everybody was happy because a local club took the cup, right? So it's something you share with others. So sorry if I'm taking long then, but I'm trying to give it like a whole perspective on what do you expect in mastering English. So mastering English is not only getting your IELTS. This is great, and that's it's the level of proficiency that you need. But now let's go on the ground and see how is the real language spoken, right, and understood. So this will help you in the job market and being and having in your integration in the job market.
So Youssef, I know you also speak French. You have learned before French, and now you live in Manitoba, which is a Anglophone province. How do you keep in touch with the language?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So actually, there's a quite, quite, not, I won't say big, but quite a considerate Francophone population in Manitoba. So not only in Winnipeg, there are many other cities and towns outside Winnipeg that are classified as francophone or bilingual. So what I've done here in Winnipeg to maintain that, there is a program in the University of St. Boniface, as we said now, that offers this French language learning and or continuous learning if you already know French for permanent residents. This is one thing. The other thing is volunteering. There are many francophone places here that need volunteers. Of course, with COVID now, it's a challenge, but I'm saying in general, I mean, sometime this COVID will be over, but so volunteering offers really a good opportunity to practice French or even basic French if you know some. So that's something that helped me. I volunteered in a museum called La Maison Gabriel Roy, and I volunteered for Tourisme Réel in St. Boniface as well, and I used to do some guided tours for visitors in French, and this helps you, to learn new things and maintain the language as well. And sometimes, like some social groups, we used to have like a social group. Remember, you were part of it, and you started it actually with me, and so we used to go to meet every month and speak purely French, and we all have almost the same level in language. So that was something, there's always many ways you can keep the language.
Winnipeg has a university that teaches French. How does that work?
Yeah, so the University of St. Boniface, or Université de Saint Boniface in French, offers a French language learning program for permanent residents. So if you have a permanent residence card, so you can't be a student, you can't be on a work permit, and you can't be a Canadian citizen. So you have to be a permanent resident only to be eligible for the program, all right? And you don't have to have any previous knowledge of French. You have to go to the Language Assessment Center in Winnipeg. They give you your assessment. So even if you have like beginner level, that's fine. And then you send your application to the university. And this program has very, very high, competition. It's a limited number of people, and by the way, it's free. You don't have to pay for it if you attend all the classes. And for beginners, they're offering like a full-time program where it is like 5 days a week. And for now, for COVID, it's online. They have their platform to do that. But again, this is something people would consider. Yes, maybe you can't, be proficient in the language, but at least something, as long as maybe your time allows for it, why not? Like, you're adding to your knowledge, right? And then even if you have basic French, like at least saying simple things, this is an added value. Maybe it's not really widely spoken in Manitoba or in Winnipeg, but it's an added value, and all federal agencies welcome you if you have, like a second language, which is the one of the official languages in Canada.
As my final question, I would like to ask you, do you have any tip for those who are thinking of immigrating, especially for those in the construction field, in the engineering field? Do you have any advice for them?
Yeah, sure. It's the main thing is please mind your expectations. So that doesn't mean don't come, or that doesn't mean that you have to be afraid. No, not at all. But prepare yourself, properly. So focus on your skills, and at the same time focus on your qualifications. Have your papers ready, and go into the internet, look at other people's experiences, what they have done, what they have seen, and just have your overall knowledge of the field. The other thing is about, as you said, about construction. So I would like to remind, as a final word, the difference between engineering and construction. So make sure that you're looking for the right thing and you have the right expectations before coming here. And this is important. This country has many things to offer, but you have to earn it. And there is a phrase I used when I had my Canadian oath ceremony. I said it in French. Actually, I said le Canada n'est pas la terre de rêve, il est plutôt la terre où les rêves sont réalisables. So Canada is not the land of dreams, it's the land where dreams can come true. But that will only happen with hard work and patience and being open. So don't close the doors and don't sit on your couch blaming time, blaming life. No, go out. There is many opportunities out there, and this is the most beautiful country in the world, I would say. So that's not biased.
Very nice. I would like to thank you for making the time to meet with me and sharing your experience with our viewers. And I hope this will be useful for them. And again, thank you. I wish you a very good 2021.
Thank you very much for having me today. And, I wish you good luck with your new channel and the new, this is really great to help everybody around. And I wish to, I hope to see you soon here in Winnipeg. And if you have anybody who's coming here to Winnipeg and they need any help, just let me know and I will always be happy to help.
Okay, and I must say, if you go to Winnipeg and you want to make a friend from a different country, look for Youssef. He is a really good friend.
Absolutely.
Thank you and bye.
Okay, bye.
E é isso aí. Eu quero mais uma vez agradecer Youssef por ter tirado um tempo para conversar conosco, compartilhar a experiência dele e dar dicas muito valiosas. Gostaram? Se gostaram, deixe o seu like, compartilhe, comente, se inscreva lá no nosso canal no YouTube. Até a próxima e até lá!